Amazon and MGM start putting their money where their mouth is. There are big, big plans for Stargate. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV movie channel. If you are a regular SciTrekker, you'll know that we've been following the Stargate story from the very beginning. We've been able to exclusively tell you over and over again what's going on behind the curtain at Amazon and MGM. And I'm going to be able to exclusively tell you some very interesting pieces of information once again. But before I do, I just want to very quickly recap where we're at right now. The movie plan that, again, we exclusively told you first seems to be the way this is going. Now, unless something really changes, Jennifer Salke is really pushing for a cinematic movie of Stargate. And people like Michael Wright, who's currently head of MGM Plus, who was actually opposed to this idea initially, do seem to be coming on board. I'm hearing more and more whispers that actually they're starting to form a much bigger plan for this project than maybe we realized. Now, we've been talking about a franchise of Stargate for quite some time, a movie followed by a series. But it seems that Amazon and MGM are really ready to put their money where their mouth is. Jennifer Stiven, a close friend of the channel, and this is an MGM insider that we've seen on Dial-A-Gate, etc., several times, always talks about the project being a tentpole project for Amazon and MGM. That meaning that really is a central project for the channels and will be really a big project for MGM. Now, I can tell you exclusively that in recent marketing meetings, this has been talked about as being the sci-fi project for Amazon and MGM for the next decade at least. At times, we've questioned whether there was really enough confidence in the Stargate brand. But what we're starting to see now is there's not just confidence, there's masses of confidence. So the movie, at first, we assumed when we first started hearing that there was a possibility of a Stargate movie, that it would be a straight-to-streaming film, maybe straight to Amazon Prime. Now we're hearing it may actually be a cinematic release, which, to be honest, is surprising to say the least. The budget, for example, the difference between a streaming movie and a cinematic movie is still huge. It costs a lot more money to get a movie to the cinema. So again, it shows that confidence. I'm now hearing, though, as well, that the TV series that is going to follow the movie will begin development immediately and will actually be filmed either immediately after or in parts during the production of the movie. That means they've actually already green-lit the TV series. Now, that is, again, huge because we always kind of assumed we would get the movie, and then if it did well, we'd get the series. But no, it looks like Amazon and MGM have the confidence to pull that trigger and that they're going to be doing these back to back. So we're going to be going straight from the cinema almost straight away into a TV series. Now, we can only assume that those two projects are going to be intertwined with each other, that they're going to exist within the same universe, obviously, but also that the movie will act as an opener for the series. Now, guys, get into the comments. Can you tell me, is there a single time this has happened before that a movie has gone to the cinema and that a TV series is planned for immediately afterwards, where the two projects are actually related? The only thing I can think of is maybe the current Marvel universe, where the TV series and the movies, influence each other. Other than that, I can't think of anyone that's ever tried to do this before. Now, around Christmas, I told you that Penguin and Parker was actually negotiating really hard with Amazon and MGM for the budgets, etc., and that those negotiations actually kind of collapsed around Christmas time, that they were actually looking to get a green light on this quite quickly, but it got delayed. Now, it's currently being delayed because all the studios are really focusing on anything that's already in pre-production, because of the looming strikes from the writers, and then a little bit later, possibly even the directors might go on strike. So the studios are focusing on making sure that anything is in production at the moment is going to be done and ready so that they can carry on filming, etc., if the writers do go on strike. So no new projects are really getting announced, or at least no new projects are starting at the moment, just because of the risk that they might have to stop almost immediately. But what I did tell you previously was that basically Amazon were looking at trying to get the show around a budget of $5 million on average an episode. Now, I say that on average because some episodes just cost more than the others, but a 10-episode series, they were looking at a budget of $50 million. And that then Penguin and Parker and Mark Fergus would be allowed to spend more heavily on some episodes and less on others as they saw fit. Mark Fergus was really pushing for a budget closer to $10 million. He wanted $100 million for his 10-episode series. Now, it looks like they have started those negotiations again. And according to my source that was actually in a marketing meeting very recently, they were talking about an average budget of around $8 million for an episode. So for a 10-episode series, $80 million budget. So it seems that they have literally just gone, well, we want to spend 5, you want to spend 10. How about we just spend 8? Okay, everyone's happy. But in this marketing meeting, they also talked about the production budget of the straight-to-cinema movie. Now, this, I think, is a little bit disappointing. The recent budget for Ant-Man, Quantumania, which isn't a very good film, it's got brilliant bits, but generally it's a bit disappointing, was $200 million. The budget for the Avatar movies has been ridiculous. It's been like a billion squillion. You know, we just don't know. The budget, obviously, for the recent Lord of the Rings of Power series has been kind of ridiculous. So you would expect a budget of what? 150, maybe $180 million for a straight-to-cinema Stargate movie. But the budget they're talking about was more like $80 to $90 million. Now, that is, don't forget, the production cost. It's how much they expect the movie to actually cost to make. It's not including marketing, etc., which can, be another 50% on top of the actual cost of the movie. So we are looking at, maybe around $150 million overall budget for the film. But the $80 to $90 million in production, that is a little bit disappointing. But speaking to somebody else that I know that used to work at MGM and now does work in another field within the industry, he actually said that those budgets might be a little bit misleading. He's basically said the fact that a movie and then a series have been greenlit together, basically, and that they've already sort of mentioned that these will be filmed sort of at the same time, tends to suggest that perhaps they're going to share things like studio space, sets, special effects, and so on and so on. What you're kind of getting is a 2-for-1 deal. You can spend money and do things on the movie that will then basically be free for the series. Or vice versa, you could build a set for the series that would come out of that budget that then you use in the movie, basically for free. So he says it's actually a very clever way of doing this on a budget. Amazon are a business at the end of the day, and they don't like to spend money where they don't have to. They are looking for a production partner who I think more and more likely is going to be Sony, but we still don't know for certain, to share some of the production costs, to share some of the risk, but also to share the expertise, something that Sony has in spades. So on one hand, I think that this budget of maybe $8 million an episode is pretty good. That's up there with Star Trek budgets for the last few years. Maybe not Picard season 3, that was a little bit more expensive, but it is up there in around what Discovery cost, what Strange New Worlds cost. For a big sci-fi show, particularly in the current market, that really shows confidence. The $90 million for the movie I do find a little bit worrying, but only in the respect that I would have expected maybe a third more. But again, if they're doing these two projects together, it actually might mean we get a lot more bang for our buck on the screen. If you also think about if they don't have big name actors in the movie. So I'm thinking about sort of Starship Troopers back in the day. It was a $100 million film when it was made, but it all went on the special effects, etc. They paid almost no money to the major actors. Big Hollywood actors today still cost $20, $30 million potentially. That would be a third of this budget. But I'm being told over and over again, that is not where Amazon and MGM are planning to go with this. They do not want any big name actors, even though they did consider people like Miles Teller. They're going to bring a lot of the actors from the original series back. They're going to bring in other character actors that you'll sort of like go, oh, I know him from that thing I saw once, but you won't actually know their name. And do you know the kind of actor I'm talking about? And I don't mind that at all, because let's be honest, Michael Shanks, Amanda Tapping, Christopher Judge, so on and so on, were actors I didn't know before SG1, but now I cannot wait to see in a movie. And how much money would you really have to spend to get Richard Dean Anderson back as Jack O'Neill? It's not going to be in the $20-30 million area. So they're not going to be spending a massive portion of the budget on actors. But what they are going to do is spend decent money on actors we actually want to see. So this news coming out of their marketing meetings, and again, this is only a marketing meeting. You do have to remember that these are people that are talking about what are they going to do when this gets made? How are they going to promote it? How are they going to push forward? Now, they will have had the information from higher up. So I'm actually certain that the numbers they were talking about were accurate. But you still have to remember that until they actually start producing and a budget is actually formally agreed, these figures can change. But it does look like the plans are being laid down and that those plans are big. They are not just going to be doing a Stargate on a budget. They're going to be doing a Stargate that they plan to blow our minds with. And I cannot wait. From my sources, I know that at MGM, they consider Stargate to be the sleeping giant of sci-fi. The giant is awakening. And Amazon really believes it has a franchise here to go up against Star Trek. And maybe even go a little bit further. Because Star Trek hasn't got a movie going to the cinema. Just saying. But guys, get into the comments on what you think. These plans do seem to be solidifying. We are starting to get a few ideas of numbers and budget, etc. And we are starting to get an insight on what Amazon and MGM are really thinking about for Stargate. Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think about these plans. If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out. And please go over to patreon.com/SciTrek, where you can get most of our new videos first. And for a small contribution each month that really supports the channel, you get to see them without the adverts. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.